Today on Commander Replay, it's Lathliss Dragon Queen versus Edric, Phenax, and the Dragon. Can Lathliss prove she's the one true ruler of the skies before getting aggroed to death or milled out? Find out next on Commander Replay. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Lathliss Dragon Queen. Let's take a look at our opening hand. I like this. We have a fetch land and a Crucible of Worlds, so we'll go ahead and keep that. Also, we'll get a chance to try out one of our new cards in this Dragon's Horde. So we won the flip, we will go first. And with that land off the top, that does give us enough to hit Crucible of Worlds on turn 3, which I really like. So as I mentioned, we're playing Lathliss Dragon Queen, who I believe should be a snake dragon. It is not, it is only a legendary dragon. But I do feel in my heart that the creature type should be snake dragon, with a name like Lathliss. Make sure I get all this in there. Anyway, Lathliss is 4 red for a 6/6 flying. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying, and you can pay 2 to fire breathe all dragons you control. Pretty interesting commander if you're looking to flood the board with dragons. Altar of the Brood coming down for the Phenax opponent. Our deck is basically going to try to use things like Panharmonicon, Conjurer's Closet, just bounce some of our dragons and double up that Lathliss ability and just get a lot of dragon tokens into play. So all we're really trying to do here, nothing too complicated. We draw another mountain, lands are good, this deck wants a lot of mana. All of our creatures are very expensive. Nothing to do with 2 mana, so we'll tap out and pass. Eladamri, Lord of Leaves, come down. Woo! Yeah, it's a pretty good card. Luckily, we have a fault line in our hand, and that is really good. So today, we are facing off against Edric, Spymaster of Trest. Very nasty opponent. Their deck is going to be super fast, draw a lot of cards, and probably try to counter anyone that tries to play a board wipe. Very tough commander. However, it will give us the ability to draw some cards as well, as long as Edric's in play. Next up, we have the Dragon. So it looks like we're going to have some aerial dragon combat going. It'll be our dragon deck versus their dragon deck. We've seen the Dragon a bunch, very popular commander. I'm sure most of you know what it's capable of. Slamming a lot of dragons and then casting the Dragon to finish it off. So we all get milled 1 from the Altar of the Brood. We lose a Dragonstorm. That's probably fine. We're a long ways away from casting that Dragonstorm, so I'm alright with that. Phenax is going to Vampiric Tutor for something at the opponent's end step. And finally, the last opponent, Phenax, God of Deception. 4/7 indestructible, isn't a creature if your devotion to black and blue is less than 7, and gives creatures the ability to mill an opponent equal to their toughness. Phenax almost exclusively a mill deck. Honestly, mill decks are stronger than you think. When you start losing key cards out of your deck into your graveyard, and especially if you don't have a way to get them out, you can get run over by a mill deck pretty quickly. So that brings back to our turn. We draw a Valakut. That'll be good in a few turns. I don't want to play that just yet. Want to get our lands down on time. I'm going to go with this Dragon's Horde first, since it's not likely to attract any attention to itself. Crucible of Worlds is one of those cards that just kind of attracts a lot of attention and is way more likely to eat artifact removal. I'm pretty sure everyone's going to leave our Dragon's Horde alone. Edric, Spymaster of Trest coming into play, so the card drawing is about to start. Honestly, the best thing to do on our next turn will probably be to play Fault Line X2. Anything we can do to slow down that Edric opponent is going to be key, I think. So I'm guessing that Phenax probably has a couple board wipes in their deck, being that it's typically a blue-black control deck. So you do have to control the board quite a bit to mill everyone out, but no guarantees on that either. So I think we'll be all right if we use the Fault Line nice and early, because Edric is such a fast deck. They can be up to 10 cards before we know it. And once they do that, they'll probably have counterspells. Right now, they would need a free counterspell, which there are a couple, but chances of them having one is significantly lower right now than if they just hold back mana next turn and start drawing cards like crazy. So I like the Fault Line play coming up. Phenax opponent lays down a Sol Ring, and it's going to trigger Altar of the Brood again. We lose a mountain. No big deal there. Fuels up our Crucible of Worlds, and there's a Rhystic Study. Rhystic Study's not the best. I also don't want to give Phenax tons and tons of cards. So back to our turn, we draw into a Mind Stone. All right, this is interesting. So I'd like to go... I'm just going to main phase this Fault Line because they don't... once they untap, they might have counterspells. That's the thing I want to be careful of. And then the question is, do we Valakut or do we Arid Mesa Mind Stone? I think I like the Arid Mesa Mind Stone plan better. So get this Arid Mesa down, crack the Arid Mesa, get a mountain, play the Mind Stone. Opponent's going to get to draw with the Rhystic Study. And Fault Line X2. Opponent will get to draw again with the Rhystic Study. That one has flying, unfortunately, so that one's going to survive the Fault Line. But that will still slow the Edric down a bit. They will have to tap out at some point to recast their commander, which most importantly buys time. Hopefully that by that point, Phenax will be ready to use some board wipes. Opponent's going to swing into us for one. Yep. We go down to 36. Fault Line, by the way, hits each player in addition to each creature without flying, so each opponent took 2 as well. I really like Fault Line in Dragon decks and Angel decks where basically all of your creatures have flying. A lot of times it's a one-sided board wipe. It does, however, miss things occasionally, like this Hypnotic Siren, which is a little bit annoying, but it's the price you have to pay. But I think the upside outweighs the downside. Other than the Dragon, you really just don't see that many creatures with flying in Commander. There's a small handful. Black decks will run a few typically, like Butcher and Malakir. But unless you're me and you're jamming Angel Tribal all the time, you really just don't run into that many things with flying. We just lost to Boggart and Hellkite. That's a card that I actually wanted. We have some wacky combo stuff that we could do, but unless someone plays one of those blue wheels that shuffles the graveyard into the library, we're probably not going to be able to get that out. Siren of the Silent Song. Cards untapped. Each opponent discards a card, then puts the top card of their card. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, opponent got our Gauntlet of Might. Yep, that's another card I wanted. Luckily, we have the Gauntlet of Power in our hand. White of Precinct 6. Funny card. Really only works in a mill deck, but opponent's playing a mill deck, so I've seen this thing get pretty big. We lost a Ruby Medallion, another card that I would have liked. There's a Worn Power Stone. We've already got a decent amount of mana ramp. Probably not what we needed right here. I'm thinking this turn, Gauntlet of Power and Valakut. Yeah, I like that plan. So we'll play the Gauntlet of Power. This time we will pay for the Rhystic Study. Oh, opponent's going to unsubstantiate the Gauntlet of Power? Rough. Wow, that's a huge tempo loss for us. That means that next turn we would have been able to start slamming dragons and doing some pretty cool stuff, but that is going to slow us down quite a bit. I'll pay for the Rhystic Study. Play the Valakut. We need one more mountain to activate Valakut, so 2 more mountains to actually get a trigger on the Valakut. But there's a pretty good chance we'll be shooting down Edric's stuff as they... Well, we've got a lot of things to shoot down, actually. I'd like to shoot down this Siren Song at some point as well. Jace's Phantasm coming into play. That thing's going to get big quickly. So Edric leaving 2 mana up, likely a counterspell. No attacks from the Edric. I mean, if your dragon wanted to lay down a board wipe right here, I would be totally on board with that. Nope, not so lucky. Your dragon is going to play a land and pass. Another Altar of the Brood trigger. What are we losing this time? Opponent's going to Cross and Grip the Altar of the Brood. Between that and Rhystic Study, I would say it's actually a pretty tough choice. Altar of the Brood is better than you think. I mean, if this thing stays in play for 10 turns, then, you know, the opponent will probably mill 20 cards with it. And then once Phenax comes down, they don't have that much left to do. I can understand using the Cross and Grip on that. However, Rhystic Study is a card that also does some crazy, crazy things, so... Our Inventor's Fair goes into the graveyard. Well, we can pull it out with the Crucible of Worlds. That will make us a little bit slow on the Valakut, though. I'm going to put a Night Howler on the Siren of the Silent Song. Let's see where this goes. Hopefully at the Edric. Edric poked Phenax pretty good. So, Edric going to use the counterspell on the Night Howler. That's good. Opponent using their counterspell against them, not us. That's good news. The other good news is that the only opponent playing red is the Dragon, which means that the chance of a Vandal Blast is much lower. I'm not really sure that Vandal Blast is something that an Dragon wants to be running. Opponent going to spread the damage out between the Dragon and the Edric opponent. Sounds good to me. Opponent's going to block with the 1/1. Try and preserve their life total. Nope, decides not to block. There's a Herald's Horn. Question is, do I want Phenax to draw a million cards with Rhystic Study? Oh, that's a tough question. Yeah, I think we run everything out there and just eat the consequences from the Phenax opponent. So Gauntlet of Power. Not going to pay for the Rhystic Study. Opponent's going to get to draw a lot of cards here. So choosing red. Next, play the Crucible of Worlds. Not paying for the Rhystic Study. Oh, tough choices here. Really want the Mountain. Really want the Inventor's Fair. Think it's going to be the Mountain. And then lay down the Herald's Horn. And opponent's going to get to draw one more time on that Rhystic Study. So I feel fairly comfortable doing this based on the colors that our opponents are in. And we'll be choosing Dragon with the Herald's Horn. Like I said, not a lot of red, so not expecting a Vandal Blast. Hour of Revelation is also not really playable in the Dragon just because of the triple white. Edric could have something like a Bane of Progress, which would get us pretty good. But I'm not sure that that's a card that Edric runs, typically. Though it's a very good card. And would effectively send us back to the Stone Age right now, so really hoping they don't lay down a Bane of Progress. Opponent's going to play a Forbidden Orchard and give the Dragon a Spirit token. So Edric Spymaster of Trest coming back into play. Opponent's going to Doomblade the Edric. Nice. I was thinking about using that Edric to draw some cards on our turn. However, now that it's gone, I do like that it's gone because that'll force Edric to... Ooh, Edric just scoops it up! Can't handle the removal. Oh, this game's going to get weird. Yeah, so Edric is a deck that if you kill it 2-3 times, they have to tap out, and that means they can't leave up counterspell mana, and they are not drawing cards like they want to be, so the removal getting to Edric right there. Now, in looking at the two remaining opponents, the Euro Dragon is going to be more likely to have mass artifact removal, where the Phenax opponent is not. The Phenax opponent could cause us a lot of trouble by milling our deck, so that's something we want to be careful of. Right now, I'm not exactly sure who the bigger threat is. The Rhystic Study is kind of an issue, but the Euro Dragon's also been relatively untouched, and if you let the Euro Dragon go untouched too long, they get an out-of-control board state with a ton of dragons that's hard to deal with. So we have a couple board wipes in our deck, but a lot of them don't hit flying, so that is something we need to be careful of. But it's going to make the threat analysis right here a little bit tricky. The Euro Dragon also hasn't really done much. I don't know what's in their hand, because they haven't been casting cards at all. But the other thing that we have to watch out for is that because Phenax has been drawing cards like crazy, eventually they'll probably run into a Cyclonic Rift, and, I mean, we'll probably just lose if they hit it. I think we get rid of the Worn Power Stone right here. We're doing pretty good on mana ramp. We also lose our Ryusi, the Falling Star, into the graveyard. We would have drawn that with the Herald's Horn, had that stayed on top. That's a little bit frustrating. Was hoping to get some value out of that Herald's Horn. Ooh, there's a Bloodchief Ascension. Okay, Phenax is now the #1 threat. But that does still make me nervous because I know what the Euro Dragon can do in the late game. It's turn 6 already. Luckily, they haven't really played very much, which is something. But when Guilt Feeder attacks and isn't blocked, each player loses 1 life for each card in their... Oh my god. And it's an 0-4, so it would take us 2 lands to shoot it with Valakut. Eey. White of Precinct 6 going to swing into the Euro Dragon, and the Siren going to swing into us. Opponent's going to block with their Spirit. Yeah, sounds good. That seems like a good use of that Spirit. That does trigger the Bloodchief Ascension. Yeah, we really don't want that to get active. It's gonna be a quick game if it does. So back to our turn. Herald's Horn is gonna trigger. It's a Fellwar Stone. Bummer. Fellwar Stone, not what we were looking for right here. I think it's gonna be the Arid Mesa this turn. We need to make sure that we don't lose 2 or more life. We really don't want that Bloodchief Ascension active. How much is it to cast Lathliss? Lathliss is 5. So Lathliss coming down. Hellkite Igniter is 7. We will pay for the Rhystic Study right here. Finally have the mana to start doing so and without slowing ourselves down too much. We get a counter on the Dragon's Horde. I'm going to wait on that because there could be some wheel effects in blue, so I'll probably wait till like the end step before using that, assuming that we don't need to use it for mana right here. So we have 9 cards in our graveyard. We would lose a lot of life to this Guilt Feeder, although if it's blocked, then it doesn't do damage. Ooh, it has Fear. Ooh, it has Fear. Well, blocking, that takes blocking out of the equation. Yeah, so I guess we run the Hellkite Igniter out. First, we need to crack our Arid Mesa. Opponent says they're a fan of our channel, by the way, but that is a really poor use of this Anguished Unmaking because we're going to die to that Bloodchief Ascension. Yeah, that was just such a poor use of Anguished Unmaking. Also, that's going to put 1 more counter on the Bloodchief Ascension. Oh, we're in a bad spot now. Get a Mountain. Shoot the Siren. Alright, so this is tricky. We have Hellkite Igniter in our hand, and we have, use Valakut's ability. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artifacts in play. We could have a 6th next turn, which means that each time we activate it, it's going to get +6/+6. Being that opponent is at 33 life, we would need to activate it 5 times to be lethal on the Phenax opponent. That means that would take us 10 mana to do that, plus the 7. We would need 17 mana. How much mana do we have? Opponent played the Doomblade already, so they have showed that they are playing some spot removal, which means I don't want to run the Hellkite Igniter out there and just try to untap with it. That's not a thing that I want to do. We have 8 mana left. I think it's going to be play Fellwar Stone. Yeah, I think we set up for a really big hit next turn is what we do. So play the Fellwar Stone. Gonna pay for the Rhystic Study. I'm gonna remove... I'm actually gonna draw the card right now. See if it's anything useful that'll power us up a little bit more for the next turn. It's Tectonic Edge. Not helpful. Oh, man. We could actually... I think we can cast... Yeah, I think we pass. 5 cards, and opponent hasn't really committed that much out there yet, so... I don't know if opponent's playing like Dragon Control or something like that. They did get their Cyclonic Rift milled. That's good news. That would be helpful against the Blood Chief Ascension, but it would hurt all of us pretty badly. What we do need in this deck is an Oblivion Stone, because then we could use the Inventor's Fair to go get it and get rid of this stuff. So opponent going to send the Guilt Feeder at the Dragon, probably because they have more cards in their graveyard. And I'm going to send the White of Precinct 6 into us. So Dragon's going to be losing a lot of life. Dragon goes down to 17, wow. And at the end step, Blood Chief Ascension is going to be active, and we have to hope opponent doesn't have any wheel effects or anything like that. I'd be really happy if they tapped out their mana. Then we know we could execute our Hellkite Igniter plan without interference, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Opponent only has 1 blue. That does make it tough to counter things. They are on Cyclonic Rift mana. Opponent's going to Animate Dead on the Atarka World Render. Oh, man, that's bad, because now they have a blocker, and that means that our plan is not going to work. We have an Urza's Incubator. That is not helpful. Oh, man. Let's take a quick look at the deck list. Any artifacts that are useful right here? Steel Hellkite is useful. That does get rid of things. I mean, I guess we just have to keep waiting, which I don't like. So, recast our commander. Pay for the Rhystic Study. Get a counter on the Dragon's Horde. Suppose we could have played the Urza's Incubator first. Draw a card with the Dragon's Horde. Yep, opponent's going to snuff out our Lathliss. So the Hellkite Igniter plan would not have worked. There's a Scourge of Valakut. That's something. I think I'm going to go Inventor's Fair right here. We could shoot the White of Priest. No, we don't have any mount. I don't really want to use the Arid Mesa that much because of the Blood Chief Ascension. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Inventor's Fair just so it's available to us if we need it. Also, it'll slowly gain us life, although that's not really going to be the relevant issue. Shooting the White, I mean, while it's probably a good idea, is also going to make it further away to win the game, which I don't like. I think we want to get the Urza's Incubator down right here. So if we get Urza's Incubator down, that means that Scourge will cost red, which we can pay right there. Rhystic Study coming down. Rhystic Study trigger, we can pay with the Felwar Stone, choosing Dragon. Pay red for Scourge of Valakut. Pay for the Rhystic Study again. So Scourge of Valakut down. We get another counter on the Dragon's Horde, and Scourge of Valakut will do 1 damage to a target. We'll definitely do that at the Phenax opponent. Now with the Scourge of Valakut, that means that we can use something like, we can cast another dragon, use the Arid Mesa to get a mountain, and then potentially shoot this Guilt Feeder, or even this Atarka, really. Actually, the Atarka would be the big one. So pass the turn like that. Dragon coming into play. Hopefully opponent pays for the Rhystic Study. So back to Phenax's turn. Well, let's see what they've got. Yep, there's a Cyclonic Rift. Game's over. Yep, called how this game was going to end. So opponent swings into the Dragon. Dragon goes down. That's a Magma Quake. Oh my god. That's actually a helpful card. All right. First, we need to get a bunch of things out of our hand. Play this Tectonic Edge. Yeah, play the Tectonic Edge. We need to get down to... I think my goal right here is to get Gauntlet of Power back into play, and then Magma Quake. Yeah, I think that's our best use of resources this turn. Right now, I think we just need to drag the game out and not let opponent draw. That'll make 6 mana, be enough to go X4 and use 1. Okay, yeah, that works. Pay the 1. Oh, crap, opponent's going to get to draw 1 card. Well, I think it's still got to be done, so... Magma Quake X4. They'll get to draw 1 with the Rhystic Study. At least the Cyclonic Rift is gone, so as long as they don't get it back... I mean, Cyclonic Rift is probably one of the worst things that they could play. A Wheel Effect would probably end the game, though, so that's something that we also have to be careful of. We are going to discard to hand size, which means that this is going to get us 1 time. Probably the Herald's Horn, just because it's very slow. So Blood Chief Ascension is going to get us 1 time right there. Man, if this Tectonic Edge was a strip mine, I would totally blow up their island. Opponent plays an island. I guess that may not have been the right play call if we had that strip mine, but... Sewer Nemesis. Choose a player. Equals the number of cards in that player's graveyard. Player casts a spell. That player puts the top card of their... Ugh. Oh, man. Yeah, that's going to get pretty bad with... And it's an 11/11, which means it's going to be really difficult to kill. Where's Ugin? We really need Ugin. Opponent leaves up 5 mana. That's suspicious. There's a Path of Ancestry. Play the Path of Ancestry. Could definitely use some scries. How much mana do we have? 12, 13, 14, 15 mana. I mean, I think we're just going to have to hope that opponent doesn't have something right here. Get Lathliss into play. We need to get Scourge of Valkus down to generate a token for the Lathliss, which gives us a blocker to this thing. So no, we're not going to pay for it. Oh, man. Heuristic Study. And get the Scourge down. Again, can't pay for it. We're going to get milled again, getting hit by the Bloodchief Ascension again. And each time opponent draws, that puts him closer and closer to a wheel effect or something real nasty with the Bloodchief Ascension. Traumatize, things like that. So we get a Lathliss trigger and we get a Scourge trigger. I think we will want to use these in the correct order. So Scourge trigger will go on the bottom. So Lathliss will resolve first. We'll get another Scourge trigger. Opponent takes 3, and opponent will take 3 more. That's something. Pass the turn. Hope opponent didn't draw too much. Opponent actually needs removal. Like, if opponent doesn't have removal this turn, or flying blockers, there is a small window for us to sneak this thing out. That's a Mystical Tutor. That's not going to help. Opponent gets a Whispering Madness. Yep, that will kill us. Do they have a way to draw it? Probably, otherwise they wouldn't have main phased it. That's a Rexiel. That is not a flying blocker, and that is not removal. Oh my god, we might be able to sneak this thing out. All right, opponent's coming in for 13. Let's do the math. Right now, we have 18 damage on board. If we cast the Hellkite Igniter, that'll give us 23 damage, which means that we just need to activate Lathliss a couple times. If we activate Lathliss twice, then we should have lethal. So I think we take the damage right here. We go down to 5. Opponent's got 1 mana open, so there's not too many things that they could have. Here we go! Oh, that's a Chaos Warp. That actually gives us an ability to go long if we need to in the game. Ooh, we're also going to get a Scourge trigger. We'll get 2 Scourge triggers. Opponent says, guess he can kill me if you didn't block, so GG. Yep. So here comes. So we're going to get to scry 1 time. I think opponent will get to mill with the Sewer Nemesis first. Yep, they'll get to mill first. Check on our mana. That's 3 activations. That should be plenty. So definitely pay for the Heuristic Study. We get milled 1 time. That's going to gain opponent 2 life. I'll have to be careful about that. Opponent goes up to 32. We get to scry 1 time. It's a Scavenger Ground. No, probably don't need that. I think we'd be hurting ourselves more than anything else. Put that to the bottom. Scourge of Valkus on the bottom. Lathliss trigger. Scourge trigger. So, ooh, nice. Opponent's down to 22. Just in case, I'm going to leave these 2 back just in case something goes wrong. Because of this Chaos Warp, we can get rid of the Bloodchief Ascension. Should something weird happen in this attack, then we can still survive. So that's 12, that's 18. Activate Lathliss. Activate Lathliss. All right, do a little math check. That's 17, 24. Things are looking good. Boom, we got there. Put opponent to -2. Oh my god, I can't believe we survived that. Oh, man. I thought for sure when that Cyclonic Rift came down, that was just the end of the game. Opponent had so much good stuff out. We did get lucky that they decided to go after the Dragon because they could have killed us just as easily. Woo-hoo-hoo. Can't believe we snuck that out. Yeah, with the active Bloodchief Ascension, Heuristic Study, opponent had Diluvian Primordial, Trinket Mage, and Whispering Madness. Wow. Oh my god. So this is my first game back in about 2 weeks. I was on vacation, but I've also been sick. So, yeah, I can't believe we actually just won this game. Totally shocked. I mean, we were in such a bad board position. We took the hit down to 3 life. Bloodchief Ascension nearly killing us. Wow. Lathliss got removed twice, which was really problematic for us, especially since that removal probably should have been pointed at other places. Wow, yeah, no, oh man, I can't say enough about that win, squeaking that thing out. So the combination of Lathliss and Scourge of Valkus is really, really good. Scourge of Valkus is something that I hadn't been running in my Dragon decks, and I think I need to start bringing that back in. We can also get a similar type of effect with Dragon Tempest, where if we're making a bunch of dragon tokens, we can start pinging things down that way, too. So there's some really cool synergies right there. The things we didn't get to see, we didn't get to see the Panharmonicon, we didn't get to see the Conjurer's Closet or the Erratic Portal. Erratic Portal is probably the least efficient of that bunch, but still some things you can do. There's a couple ETB dragons that we can look to abuse with that. Also, it's just really annoying for our opponents to have to leave mana up. So a lot of interesting utility with Erratic Portal. It's a card that I've been adopting into more and more of my decks. Other cool little tricks that we didn't quite get to see. We're using the Herald of Horn. I'm using Scroll Rack and Sensei's Divining Top. Feed into the Herald of the Horn and the Outpost Siege as best that we can so we can control the top of our deck. Other than that, We have some removal in Magma Quake, Fault Line Earthquake, and Blasphemous Act. We did actually get to see a couple of those, and they were all very, very relevant in the game. Didn't quite get the Hellkite Igniter win. It's something. There's been a few times in my commander career where I've had the Hellkite Igniter win lined up, and something always gets fouled up right before I'm able to do it. Where it's like, all right, I have like 5 artifacts out, and if I activate this thing 5 times, then that should be enough to kill this person. And it always seems to fall through every time, but yeah. Anyway, so Lathliss is actually a pretty cool commander. I was actually really pleasantly surprised about our game states where even though Lathliss is like 8 or 10 to recast, I really want to cast it right now because I really want those tokens. So Lathliss does give you a very reasonable reward for being in play and then playing other dragons. So I think it's a pretty cool commander. If you guys like mono red and you like dragons, this deck is worth checking out. And if you have the Dragon deck and you're tired of the Dragon, tired of 5-color mana base, you might think about pulling your Dragon deck apart, pulling out all the red cards, and possibly building this deck in the event that you're tired of the Dragon and looking to change things up a little bit. So, pretty cool commander. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.